Hi, I wanted to take a chance right now and teach you guys how to take proper notes here in AP Psychology. You may have taken color-coded notes before in a different class, but we do things a little bit uniquely here in AP Psych. I have a kind of an exact way I like to have things done. And so by watching this quick video, you'll have a better understanding of what I'd like to see and what to expect. And if you do this, you will be successful in this class. What we have here is I've got two different sets of notes from two different students who both aced my class and both passed the AP exam with 4s or 5s, which will get them college credit for this class anywhere, which is what we're all trying to go for. So let's just jump right in. First of all, every page or every new set of notes should have the page number on the top so you know what to refer back to and the date. At the top is the title of the section that you're reading. And then we get into what's the color coding and kind of the bulk of the notes. In the center of every page, I'm sorry, not necessarily every page, but in the center of every section in red should be the title of that section put into a question. So this section might have said brain damage. And so she took brain damage and made it into a question. The reason why we make things into questions is if we are asking ourselves a question as we're reading, our brain is better able to look for the answers to that throughout the reading, and it'll help us retain that information in the long run. So in the middle in the red always goes the major section title, but you put it into a question and put a box around it. She didn't put a box around it, but I think it stands out a little bit more if it's a box. And this is always in red. In green, you're going to put the key terms. The key terms in this class are essential. This is the bread and butter of the class, is the key terms, the vocabulary words, if you will. There's a lot of them, and if they're all in green, you're going to know exactly what to look for, and you're going to spend a lot of time with these words, so we put them in green. And we put them on the left side of the page. Green, left side of the page. On the underneath of that in purple is their definition. So green is the word, and underneath is the definition of that word. Now to the right is any additional information that you read in the reading that has to do with that term. So the Corpus Callosum right here, let's get this, can we get that out of the way? I don't know. Yeah, there we go. The Corpus Callosum right here is the connecting fibrous tissue that connects the two halves of the brains, and it carries messages back and forth, and that has to do with split brains. So she took the title of this little spot, made it into a question, talked about split brain here, but had a more condensed idea underneath of it in purple for her definition. So the part that's not color-coded is just additional notes that you're going to have to help you kind of add additional information to it. Moving on, in orange, this is one of the most important parts that a lot of students who don't get a high grade of their classes, they want to fail to do, or they fail to do well, or they put it in at the last minute. Orange is your associations, your questions, your responses. They always go on the far right, and they are, after you've gone through or as you're taking notes, it's making a personal connection to the reading. And that's one of the most important parts of reading in this class, and for any class for that matter, is making personal connections. Personal connections mean that you will remember it more easily. And the one thing that's nice about this class is it's all about us. So the personal connections come a little bit more easily because it's psychology, it's us, it's our brains. And everything that's in this class is applicable to us. So that makes it a little bit easier. But you want to make sure you find these as much as possible. And even these notes right here don't have as many applications written down as I'd like to see. I know they made applications in their head for a lot of this stuff, but it's not as much written down. So these on the right side, orange, personal applications. And again, if we just continue down here, section, What does handling this relate to brain organization? She wrote a little spot on it. Consciousness came up, and again, the words in green are usually, the words in green are usually the words that are in bold in the chapter, and they go on the left-hand side. Just keep looking down. Again, here's another of her personal associations. At the end of the unit, you are going to, in blue, write your summary. Not necessarily at the end of the unit, but at the end of every section of reading. So every day, every night you have reading that's due. At the end of every single night, you're going to have this summary. And you're like, oh crap, the summary is one of the hardest things for some students to do, but the summary is one of the most important because the summary takes and it makes personal connections. It takes everything and it kind of synthesizes it together. And so it's very important, super important that you put the blue. This is one of the most first things that I look for when I check your notes, is I check to make sure that you have good, solid summaries at the end of every single reading. Black, as you see, as she has up here, black is kind of questions that you might want to check up on. These sometimes are questions that if I don't assign them to you, the questions at the end of the chapter you may want to put in here. When it says check your understanding at the end of the unit or the end of a section, I'll say kind of check your understanding, or before you move on. These questions are the ones you want to write whenever they come up. You write that in black, and that just kind of is more studying opportunities for you. The reason why we color is because color is a novel stimulus for our brain. Our brain sees thousands and thousands and millions of different sensory information every second. And all this sensory information comes in, and your brain has, less than a second to decide what it's going to pay attention to. And when you have pages and pages of notes, you guys are all AP students, so you're taking difficult classes. When you have pages and you're looking through pages of notes, you want your brain to get the most information in the easiest possible way. And the easiest possible way for your brain is to have something that's unique, that's novel. And when you put things in color, it makes it novel and unique for your brain. And so it's able to look for those things. And when everything's the same color, for instance, when all your definitions are in green, your brain gets used to that and says, okay, this is the definition. It's going to know right underneath of that to look for the purple definition. And so that's really going to help out. You want to be creative with this. You can individualize it a little bit. I like these colors. Yep, I like these colors, but you want to make sure that if you do change it a little bit, that you have some sort of rhyme and reason to it, and keep it consistent. And don't just go on a highlighting binge where you just highlight all your crap at the end. You want to highlight or write in different colored pens as you go. I like the different colored pens because it makes you stop and put your pen down and pick it up, which is again another way for your brain to take and process that information. Here's another person's notes. I just want to do this because in this section she took the opportunity to draw graphs or draw diagrams. I always emphasize, if there's a diagram on there and it seems like it's important, draw it. Write it in your notes, because again, our brains, when they see lots of words, right, that can become repetitive and it's not going to pay as close attention to it. But when it sees a picture amongst all those words, your brain's going to be attracted to that, and it's going to want to remember that a little bit more easily. So this person, again, nice question here, and she answered the question with some diagrams. She didn't put the terms and the definition all the way on the left like the last student, but it's in the same format. I like it all the way further on the left, because that way you can divide your paper in half like this, the Cornell note style, and test yourself for what the term and the word is before you move on. But you don't have to do it that way if you don't like. Again, there you go. She's got a question to herself about the optic nerve. What lobe of the brain is it in when we get there? More diagrams. She drew a little chart. Excellent. All these little charts, anything that you can do that's a little bit different than just writing down words is going to help immensely you study this stuff. The more complicated it is, the more you can put charts and whatnot, the better. All right, and again, you just keep going down. And she didn't do her summary in blue, but she has a nice summary at the end of her unit. I would have liked it been in blue, but can't have everything. One thing that these people didn't do is there's important people that we see throughout the course, and the important people, I like you to circle their names. If you circle the important people's names as you go on, that will also help draw your attention to that. But these notes are your savior. You need to take awesome notes. If you take awesome notes and study them and really make them personal to you, try to make a personal connection with everything that you read, which isn't as hard as it sounds, you are going to find this class is very doable, and you are going to see a lot more success than people who don't do this. I guarantee it happens every semester. So with that being said, thank you, and see you next time.